that nominee Aisha Juma was vetted and allowed to vie for the governorship, and she did not make it. And I'm sure she was allowed to run for that position because she qualified too. Nominee Medeka Franklin Medeka is a person who has served this country in various capacities and has proven beyond doubt that he is capable of serving at whatever capacity. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to passionately implore upon the registrators in this House, let us not have divided mind when it comes to passing these nominees as they are. Madam Speaker, turning to Penina Malonza, who was vetted for the position and the recommendation given that she has not performed very well. Madam Speaker, it's good to know that there are people who suffer from a condition called sociophobia, and normally when they go before people, especially a panel, they normally don't perform so well. And that does not mean that they are not capable. Madam Speaker, I want to join the rest of the members who are supporting this motion and saying I support with an amendment that Penina be part of the nominees who we are passing in this House. I want to implore upon every member, please let us not have dissenting voices when it comes to passing the nominees who His Excellency the President, in his own wisdom, founded faith to nominate them. I submit.
We will now have the member for Molo, Kuria Kimani.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And it's very good to see you, Madam Speaker, on the chair today. It's a great celebration for the great people of Nakuru County. Madam Speaker, I would like to start by weighing in on the issue of a person nominated to a position of Cabinet Secretary or to any other government position where they have an ongoing court case. Madam Speaker, on the record of this House, on the July of 2018, we held a debate on the nomination of one Ben Chumo, who was nominated by His Excellency the former President to be the chairperson for the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Madam Speaker, this House rejected the candidate Ben Chumo on the basis that he had an ongoing corruption court case, an active ongoing corruption case. A few years later, Madam Speaker, and to be specific, last month, the director of the DPP withdrew the case against Ben Chumo. As a result, Ben Chumo was condemned for 4 years without a job. His reputation was tainted. He lost a chance to be the chairperson of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, even when he was not guilty of the offenses that he was accused of. In the report, Madam Speaker, the DCI was accused of not responding to 4 letters sent to them between October of last year and May this year. As a result, Madam Speaker, for a mistake not his own, for some just malicious damage, we lost 4 years of this career civil servant, Madam Speaker. Are we going to do the same to the nominees that have been nominated to the various positions just because there is an ongoing court case, even before a court ruling has been ruled saying that they are guilty, Madam Speaker? If we do that, then the easiest way to ensure that no person is approved at this House will just to start a fictitious court case against that particular candidate. And therefore, as long as someone has leveled allegations against you and taken you to court, then you'll be cast to hold any government position in this country. And for that, this House cannot do that. Madam Speaker, we welcome for the first time the nomination to the cabinet of one Zachary Njeru from Nakuru County. We note, as the leaders of Nakuru, that this is the very first time we have a fully fledged minister from Nakuru City and County. Our friends from Azimio were purporting that this man is not qualified. But you have seen a person who has risen from being a nominated councillor. Even before he became councillor, we have seen somebody born in Bodeni, one of the slums in Nakuru town, who went to a district day school, Nakuru Secondary School, went all the way to university, became a councillor, became even a sub-county administrator. And this is a person that understands the real issues of housing in this country, especially because of where he is born. The perception you have of the housing sector being an issue of the rich will be brought to rest by this nominee for housing and public works, Madam Speaker. Because this is someone who understands what it means to be brought up in the slum. This is a person who understands when the president says that we are going to have, like that project he was launching today in Kibera, of people paying only 2,500 shillings a month as mortgage, and them ending up owning that house, Madam Speaker. I listened to our people here, especially condemn the one Penina Malonza, the Honorable Penina Malonza, and saying that she's not qualified for this position, just because, in their view, she did not perform in a particular way at the interview. But on the contrary, Madam Speaker, we have had people speaking very fluent English, speaking big vocabularies. But when those matters were brought to account or were brought to test, it was just opaqueness and hot air. So, Madam Speaker, therefore, we cannot simply condemn Penina Malomba because she did not perform particularly well at that particular interview. Because we have, even this House has approved before candidates who spoke very well and who sounded very convincingly, only for us to realize they were just lazy and very incompetent in the positions that they were offered, Madam Speaker. I very much love the skill set of this cabinet, Madam Speaker, especially the involvement of politicians as cabinet secretaries. And I would like this matter to rest and for once and for all. There is a general attitude in this country that once you become a politician, you become stupid. That once you become a politician, you do not think. That once you become a politician, you become incompetent. Madam Speaker, we still have very competent lawyers. I am still a practicing certified public accountant, even when I am a member of parliament. So the fact that these people have served this country as politicians should not make us think that they are incompetent or they left their professions. We saw the Honorable Kindiki, Professor Kindiki, argue these cases in court, whether it was at the ICC or the recent Supreme Court case for the presidential petition, and we forgot that he was a politician. We saw in him a brilliant lawyer. What happens when these people are nominated to the executive? Madam Speaker, the candidate of Aisha Jumwa and Mithika Linturi that our Azimio brothers and sisters are saying are not qualified, they vied to be governors in this country. What would have happened had they won the seats of governors? Are we saying that we do not need competent people as governors who are the fathers of our devolution, who really spearhead even more functions that the national government does? And therefore, Madam Speaker, I beg my honorable colleagues in opposition, do not just oppose for the sake of opposing. Look where there is reason, and where there is reason, let us oppose reason and forget our political differences. Madam Speaker, I watched the story of Aisha Jumwa, and I really want us to appreciate this. For the very first time, I had a politician admit that she got a D- in her KCSE. Otherwise, every Mheshimiwa is an A student and every Mheshimiwa is a graduate out here. But we had somebody admit for sure that was her grade and be proud of it. And many Kenyans, when they saw her being interviewed alongside the professors, they felt proud that this is a government that gives opportunities to different people based on their capabilities. Madam Speaker, she helps us understand the complications, the complexities of being a woman. Because I'm just imagining, the people who probably were involved in marrying her off at an early age, or the father of her babies then, are still going on with her life. And yet, she is here many years later, being forced to account to what happened to so many years ago when it was not a fault of her own, Madam Speaker. I would really urge this House to unanimously, first of all, reject that dissenting view of those members, because they're just trying to play politics even when there is no smallest window of playing politics. And because, Madam Speaker, the President has indicated and given a commitment that he is not going to shield cabinet secretaries from the oversight of Parliament, to the point of suggesting the amendment of a standing orders to allow our cabinet secretaries to come here and stay in account. If you really want to play your oversight and opposition role, wait for these people to be sworn in, wait for them to start working, and question in this floor of this House what they'll be able to do for this country, Madam Speaker. And with that, I am very happy with the skill set of these people, and I pray and beseech my honorable colleagues to pass all these nominees so that this government can start to work, and so that you can start holding the Kenya Kwanza government accountable for the campaign promises we made for these people of the great Republic of Kenya. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Ugenya. Member for Ugenya, Honorable David Ochieng.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand here to support the motion, like other members, with the impending amendment by the Honorable Pukose. Madam Speaker, things happen in this country that people take for granted. There's some time back, a president would just appoint the cabinet, his ministers, and no one would question how they are appointed. But Madam Speaker, in the last week, Kenyans were even on their TVs to see for themselves who the president had nominated to become a secretary, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee. I personally was very glad to watch my colleagues asking these nominees very probing questions, questions that made Kenyans understand and know the kind of persons they were, questions that made Kenyans understand and know whether they were fit for the office, and above all, questions that made Kenyans understand whether the cabinet is going to understand, the cabinet that we're going to have is fit to serve. Madam Speaker, I'm personally very happy with this cabinet for one reason, that in my 2 terms in Parliament, with cabinet secretaries that were not former members of Parliament, Madam Speaker, we served as MPs. You would go to a ministry, ask a minister for some support on a road or on a water issue or on a police matter, but the ministers, because they're not being politicians, had no clue, sometimes very dumb, about people even sleeping hungry. I know at the time I went to a minister to ask for seed for planting, and he asked me, why do you need seed in your constituency? Why can't they buy it themselves? Madam Speaker, we've had ministers who don't understand that Kenyans in this country, some of them cannot afford basic items like food, can't afford basic items like shelter, Madam Speaker. But I'm happy because in this cabinet, more than half of them, Madam Speaker, have served with us in this Parliament. They have been MPs or senators, Madam Speaker, and they come from constituencies. They have served people through election, Madam Speaker. I'm certain that they will understand the needs and requirements of our people, Madam Speaker. And that's why, for colleagues who've been in this House that we're going to pass today or tomorrow, Madam Speaker, we want to ask them not to forget where they have come from. Because the reason they've been chosen, in my opinion, Madam Speaker, is that they're able to understand the pulse of the nation, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I had a single issue that I wanted to ask my colleague Wandai and Junet. When they were asking the Honorable nominee for trade, I thought I would hear questions about Kikomi in Kisumu. I thought that I would hear questions about the fish industry in Kisumu being revived, Madam Speaker. And I'm hoping that the nominee for blue economy, nominee for fisheries, the Honorable Mvurya, when passed, is going to spend his time in trying to ensure that the fish you produce in the lake their processing, Madam Speaker, is done at the lakeside so that people from that part of the country get jobs because of the lake, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm hoping that when we pass the nominee for trade and investment, the Honorable Kuria, that we will have our Kikomi being rejuvenated, that we'll have cotton industry in Nyanza being rejuvenated. Madam Speaker, these are the things that I am hoping, and I'm hoping that the nominees are listening, that my friend, the Honorable Kipchumba, will ensure that the road network in this country is distributed, like he said during the vetting process, that they will be distributed fairly per constituency. And Madam Speaker, this House must hold the nominees to their words. Madam Speaker, the issue of net worth that is being spoken about on the streets there, Madam Speaker, it is for this House to ensure that those who said they are worth 4 billion or 1 billion or 800 million, Madam Speaker, we hold them to their word that we will, as a parliament, check at what they have at the end of their term, Madam Speaker. That is why they're asking the questions. The questions being asked about it was not about, today or tomorrow. It's about, we'll be checking in the next 3-4 years what these nominees are worth, whether they are doing the jobs for Kenyans or they have gone there for math for themselves, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as with any system that's presidential, Madam Speaker, it is important to note that before the president nominated these nominees, Madam Speaker, he considered their competences. He considered their abilities. I'm sure that he even had a conversation with them on the dockets they have been placed at. And that's why I have an issue, especially with the rejection of Madam Malonza. Madam Speaker, if you look at, I've read the report, I've read the engagement between the committee and the nominee, Madam Speaker. And there's nowhere, first of all, where the committee puts a marking scheme, that this is what our marking scheme is about the competence of a nominee. Madam Speaker, I've gone through the report, and the report about Malonza is the same as the report about the other nominees, that the nominee answered questions well, the nominees seem to understand this. I don't find their recommendation, Madam Speaker, speaking to how they engage with the nominee. There's nowhere in that report, Madam Speaker, where the committee says in the report that the nominee could not answer this question or that. There's nowhere where in the report it says that the nominee answered this question wrongly. There's nowhere, Madam Speaker. And so the observation, in my opinion, does not emanate from the report. In fact, I dare say that the recommendation by the nominee on Madam Malonza is basically baying for blood, Madam Speaker. This is not the time for bloodletting. This is not the time. This is not the time to look for blood, Madam Speaker. This is the time to bring together. This is the time to unite. This is the time to ensure that our country moves forward, Madam Speaker, and we cannot move forward, Madam Speaker, if you're going to look for wars where there are no wars, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in this country, I must say this, that in this country, in 2013, our current president and the former president were ICC indictees. They ran, we elected them. Madam Speaker, in this House, we have more than 30 MPs with cases in court. They are members of parliament. That's the truth, Madam Speaker. And so you cannot tell me that because Mithika Linturi has a case in court or Madam Aisha Juma has a case in court, then that is, Madam Speaker, I also dare say with a heavy heart that one of us has been convicted, but he ran, was elected, Madam Speaker, because the Court of Appeal allowed him, because we have put in the law, Madam Speaker, that you are guilty till you are innocent till proven guilty, Madam Speaker. And even after being proven guilty, Madam Speaker, we have said in the Constitution that you must have exhausted all the avenues for appeal. The Honorable Aisha Jumwa, the Honorable Mithika Lunturi have not even been tried by any court of law, Madam Speaker. You cannot verify the veracity of the charge, Madam Speaker, and so you cannot hold them on different levels of integrity, Madam Speaker, like we hold others, Madam Speaker. And so any recommendation based on either guilt or perceived guilt, Madam Speaker, of Madam Aisha Jumwa or Linturi Mithika Honorable, Madam Speaker, for me are misguided. Madam Speaker, as I end, I want to request this House that in my now 10, 11 years in Parliament, what I've seen distinguishing a cabinet secretary is how they understand the members' needs, how they understand the country's needs, not what papers they have, Madam Speaker. In the past, if you look at the first cabinet, Madam Speaker, the first cabinet of this country in 1963, Madam Speaker, few of them had degrees. Few of them had even worked anywhere, Madam Speaker, but they did so well. And so it would be remiss for this assembly to keep harping on papers. This has papers, this has no papers, Madam Speaker, without the ability, Madam Speaker. We know that some people have served this country so well because of the passion they had for the job. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Michuki, may the Lord rest his soul in peace, did so well as a minister for transport, and I don't think he learned anything. He was an engineer or anything, but he did so well in that ministry, Madam Speaker, that the whole country was saying, bring him back. And so what we as Assembly must do is to ensure that after we pass these nominees, we put them to task. Madam Speaker, I'm so happy that we have a president who is so sober, so ready to work, that these ministers, I'm sure in the next 1 or 2 years, they will be gasping for air. Let's put them to task. Let them work for the country, Madam Speaker. The country is waiting with bated breath, Madam Speaker. We cannot wait any longer. Let's pass these guys. Let them get to work. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Kitui Central, Dr. Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I really want to thank you most sincerely for this opportunity. I want to start by really appreciating the Appointment Committee, Honorable Speaker, for the work they have done. It's not easy. This is the third time I'm witnessing appointment of CSEs in this country as a member of Parliament, and I know it's not an easy job. So the committee did a lot of work. I took time to watch the interviews, Honorable Speaker, and I must say that I agree with the majority leader when he says that even as they were vetting, Kenyans were also sending messages. Others were calling, trying to suggest what kind of questions should be asked, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the questions were in a way, structured in a way that you get academic qualifications, issues to do with net worth, issues to do with whether you have a case in court, whether you are a citizen or not. And Honorable Speaker, to me, one of the most interesting questions was the net worth of individuals who are appearing before the committee. Honorable Speaker, I've looked through this section of the net worth, and what we have picked, Honorable Speaker, is that actually majority of the Kenyans out there are very rich compared to politicians. And it looks like it's only politicians who are not rich. I don't know whether it's because we share our resources with the rest of Kenyans, or it's because we are not aggressive enough to make wealth. Honorable Speaker, I want to single out one of the individuals who appeared before the committee, and from my assessment, this Kenyan must be very good, Honorable Speaker. That this proves that in Kenya, we still have people of high integrity. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the net worth of Governor Mufuria of Kwale, who has been a governor for 2 terms, he is only worthy 120 million. I'm sure not many Kenyans will believe, looking at the kind of life governors are living through, and the kind of wealth governors have amassed within the short times they have been governors. So I really want to encourage Kenyans to continue working for the public, so that at the end of the day, Honorable Speaker, we provide high levels of integrity as leaders, and at the same time, Honorable Speaker, we make sure that we improve the lives of the Kenyans. Looking at the approvals, Honorable Speaker, you know, Honorable Speaker, I've taken time to read through this report, and there is some consistency in terms of main text of the body of the report and the conclusions. But when I look at my sister, Honorable Penina Malonza, Honorable Speaker, you realize that the main body of the report is inconsistent with the conclusion. Why am I saying that? They are saying very well she's very qualified in terms of academic, she has no criminal case, her net worth is within the range of the rest of them, and all those good things. But then in conclusion, they say that they don't approve her because she didn't have the technical and the administrative capacity, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to remind Kenyans and my colleagues that as a CS, most of the work of our CS is policy direction and strategic direction. And the third one, which is critical, is the political direction also, Honorable Speaker. So when you look at that level, really, I don't think as a CS, you need to be an expert in engineering for you to be the CS transport. And Honorable Speaker, to be very frank with this process, and if we are honest with the process, Honorable Speaker, let's look at it this way, Honorable Speaker. When you look at this report, there are nominees who have been alleged to have criminal cases. Penina Malonza has not been alleged to have any criminal case in this country. There are nominees who have corruption-related allegations, Honorable Speaker. Penina Malonza has no allegation to do with corruption. There are nominees who have allegations to do with murder, Honorable Speaker. Penina Malonza has no allegation to do with murder in this country. There are nominees, Honorable Speaker, who, looking at their papers, there are doubts whether their papers are genuine. Penina Malonza's papers are assessed to be genuine, Honorable Speaker. But despite all this, the people with corruption-related cases, even though they are allegations, the people with criminal-related cases, even though they are allegations, the people whose papers are seen to be not genuine, have been approved by this same committee, Honorable Speaker, and then Penina Malonza, who seems to have no issue at all, Honorable Speaker, is being said to be not qualified to be a CS in this country. Honorable Speaker, I must say, these are double standards. And as a parliament, we cannot allow double standards to be played when we are here, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I've had one of the committee members say that as a parliament, we must be seen to be doing our work by saying no to some nominees. I want to say this, Honorable Speaker. It is unfortunate, and I don't think we can do that as a parliament, that we can only be seen to be working when one nominee by the name Penina Malonza is not approved and the other nominees are all approved. Fairness demands that, Honorable Speaker, is either we approve all of them, or if not so, then, Honorable Speaker, we also disapprove all of them. Because all of them have even worse cases, allegations, when you compare them with Penina Malonza. Penina Malonza happens to come from my county, Honorable Speaker. And this is a lady I know for many years. She was our first deputy governor of Kitui County. And is somebody we have interacted with. Honorable Speaker, the only omission, the only mistake, this nominee is being not approved by the committee is because she could not make a presentation. Honorable Speaker, I'm imagining one day, because we are talking about inclusion, I was questioning myself, if it happens that we get a nominee who will not be able to talk, or a nominee who cannot hear, facing some disability, the city minister's house will not be able to approve that nominee because she can't present herself or he can't present himself. So, Honorable Speaker, for me, I think, really, we can't accept these double standards. And that's why I was somehow also not very happy the way the motion was being moved, because it's like my friend, Majority Leader Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, was moving the motion, but at the same time, trying to move it in an amended form, which he was not telling the House that I'm moving in an amended form. So, Honorable Speaker, I would want to recommend this way. As we approach to the date of voting, which is tomorrow, Honorable Speaker, I think we need to have this motion amended to read as follows: that this House do approve all the names as presented by the committee, including Honorable Penina Malonza. That is my prayer, Honorable Speaker. And if we do that, we will have done justice to this country, so that at the end of the day, we don't seem to disadvantage any of the nominees because of reasons which, from my assessment, don't seem to be strong enough to really reject a nominee. So, Honorable Speaker, as I end, I want to say this, Honorable Speaker, that I want to plead with my colleagues who are in the House and those who will be in the House tomorrow, that when the time comes for voting, let's rise to the occasion, honorable members, and make sure that we approve this nominee who happens to be Honorable Penina Malonza, and who has all the technical qualification in terms of academic qualification, who seems to have worked in many organizations. And to make things worse even, Honorable Speaker, if you read the report, Honorable Penina Malonza has been awarded in this country an award called OGW. Honorable Speaker, I don't know how many members here have that award, OGW, awarded by the President of the country. If we are asked to raise our hands, there will be very few. So I'm asking myself, whoever decided to award this lady, honorable lady, that award, was that person blind? That person could not see that this lady has what it takes to work for this country and serve the public to the best of our knowledge and ability. Honorable members, I once more plead with you that come tomorrow, we are going to approve this lady so that she joins the rest of the nominees and we have a cabinet which can start working for Kenyans. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, I submit. Thank you very much.
Member for Laikipia, Honorable Jane Kagiri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this special motion. Madam Speaker, allow me to start by congratulating the appointment committee for a great job that they did and a noble job to the country and to this honorable house. Madam Speaker, I'll also congratulate all the 24 nominees because it's not a small feat that they were nominated in the midst of more than 57 million Kenyans. Madam Speaker, I support the report from the committee, but with an exception on the rejection of the approval of Honorable Penina Malonza. Madam Speaker, I look at Honorable Penina Malonza as an honorable lady who has grown through the process for her to get where she is today. Madam Speaker, let's remember, Honorable Penina Malonza is the first Cabinet Secretary nominee from Kitui South constituency. Madam Speaker, I have listened to those who have spoken before me as they narrated on her presentation and her articulation of the questions that she was asked. Madam Speaker, being a first from that constituency, we need to give her the credit that she has already achieved that feat. She had no predecessor to teach her or guide her on how to go through the process. Madam Speaker, I also continue to read a lot about Madam Penina Malonza, and I learned that she has been a deputy governor for 5 years, which of course was also achieved through hard work. Madam Speaker, it's also good to mention that having lost the position of deputy governor in the year 2017, Honorable Penina Malonza again vied for the position of woman representative in Kitui County. This, Madam Speaker, can only confirm that this is a determined soul we are talking about and a lady who is going to work for this country. Madam Speaker, away from politics, I looked at Penina Malonza's career progression. This is a lady who has grown from being a facilitator to a supervisor, to a senior supervisor, and eventually a director. Madam Speaker, thereon she goes to become a deputy governor, and when we look at her career progression, this is a lady who is destined for greatness. From deputy governor, I pray and I believe she'll now go into being a cabinet secretary. Madam Speaker, we look at a lady who holds a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, but she has gone ahead and applied to continue studying another master's degree. Madam Speaker, that talks of a willing learner and a lady who is even going to learn in her new position as the Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage. Madam Speaker,